Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. It's time to be merry. We're talking about how the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm BJ with Jeff and Gary.
Yay! I'm not going to rhyme.
Excited about this holiday.
That's probably the only rhyme I'm going to do. I had kind of thought about trying to rhyme the entire episode, but I don't have that much brain power.
You said that in a text message, and I just thought, wow, an entire episode.
I was mostly kidding.
Could we make it even like 2 minutes?
I mean, I will. Many moons ago, when we were in high school, I was in the less cool theater class. I wasn't in the class that Jeff was in with many of our mutual high school friends, and I believe I don't know if it was particularly the Grinch, but it was some Dr. Seuss thing. So, and we read it like the whole, or I guess recited like the whole class period. So like during that entire day, I was thinking in rhyme. So like if...
Like for the rest of the day, there were just rhymes coming through your head over and over again.
Yeah, so if I had time to read like a bunch of Dr. Seuss before starting, I could have gone there, but I had to work, so I couldn't do it. Rhyme failure. I am...
You didn't have time to rhyme.
No time to rhyme.
But in this particular case...
I was very proud of myself because on the way home, so that opening rhyme I had planned out, but I had thought of something else. But on the way home, I'm like, wait a second, Merry rhymes with Gary. That works better than the one I had. That works better than the one I had thought of before because it's Christmassy. Merry. Yes.
So, in this particular case, let me get us back on topic. In this particular case, we're talking about a little TV special, a little half hour, nothing super intrusive. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 1966 version. When you mentioned that we were going to watch the Grinch, I was like, okay, so which one? And you're like, the animated one. And I informed you that there are more than one animated version. It was kind of funny.
Yes. Because I was like, yeah, not the Jim Carrey one. Big Gary's like, okay, which one? I'm like, not the Jim Carrey one. That one's not really that one's not animated. Why you keep bringing it up? And he's like, no, there was like one in like 2018 or something. I was like, what?
So, yeah, and my mind keeps telling me that there's even more than that, though I can't find any more than that. As far as I can tell, there are 3 depictions of this particular story. There's the Jim Carrey one, there's this one, there's the Jim Carrey one, and then there's a 2018 one. So, just so everybody, so we're all on the same page, this is the 1966 version. Only about half an hour long, as opposed to the other two, which are full movies, from what I can tell. So
okay, I was gonna say, is the 2018 one, is it just the retelling of the book, or is it like the Jim Carrey one where they tried to insert like plot and try to develop like
it into
motivation?
Yeah, they try to develop it into an entire 2-hour movie. And from what I understand from both of them, at least from what I've heard, I actually haven't sat down and watched either of those two. Everybody says that those two are relatively funny, so and definitely entertaining. I mean, I haven't watched them myself, so I've seen
the Jim Carrey one. I believe I have mentioned in the past that my family used to go watch a movie on Christmas Eve. I'm pretty sure that was one of those. But yeah, the Jim Carrey one's all right. The best part is when they get to the book. So it's like, well, I could watch that, or I could watch the cartoon that's just a book. So yeah, given the choice, I would watch the 1966 one as compared to the Jim Carrey version. When was the Jim Carrey
I never
version?
really liked the Jim Carrey version. I'm very Grinch-like towards the Jim Carrey version. Like, he's funny. I do like Jim Carrey, but I think it's, I don't know, the whole thing
Oh,
didn't work. He's a little more pompous and not just greedy. He's like greedy and arrogant and narcissistic, which I guess it's probably a fun spin on the character, but it, yeah, it's very long for a very simple story.
yeah. You don't need. Yeah, the Grinch doesn't need like a love interest or like character motivation outside of I got the noise, or whatever, right?
He's just a Grinch. I mean, people can understand that. He's just grumpy. He's, for whatever reason. And when other people are happy, it annoys him. It annoys him because he doesn't understand it. Or whatever. I'm trying to develop some sort of
Well,
deep meaning for it. But yeah, he's just generic greed. And
and from what my wife was watching this with me, and she said that if she heard that kind of noise, she'd probably be like the Grinch too. So, I mean, those particular aspects of Christmas can sometimes bring the Grinch out of all of us. So, you can sympathize with that part of the character. It doesn't, you're right, BJ, it doesn't need to be a complicated character. It just needs to,
well, the fact it's so simple, it just stands for just being just a simple emotion. He's greedy, yet he finds, he has a fun character arc that is also simple. He just goes through things, and through the course of it, through the experiences, when he realizes the people are celebrating despite all of the things he hated about Christmas. He got rid of all those terrible things that he hated, and it didn't matter to them. And so there's this happy little warm lesson in there, that you remove all the things that you would think you would depend upon, all of the consuming items, the frills and the toys and all the decorations, all the things that people used abundantly in the holiday to make the holiday festive and great. And all of that actually wasn't really the holiday. And it's a grand little warm message from Dr. Seuss about all the people from Whoville and how they're this beautiful little community of Whovians. Whovillians?
Who's?
Yeah, the Who's. The Who's in Whoville. Yeah.
It's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of a weird name for a town, Whoville.
I mean,
like,
this
isn't like Humanville.
But this isn't the first time we've seen Whoville in and amongst Dr. Seuss's work. He actually likes to come back to this place on multiple occasions. So,
well, if
what other books does he have Whoville?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if y'all want to do the deep dive Seuss thing, as mentioned in our review, I am the lone bachelor here, so I have not partaken of Seuss in quite some time, so I will take a back seat.
But no, Jeff, the Horton Hears a Who.
Oh, does that include Whoville?
Yeah, that includes Whoville.
But that's people living on a flower.
Yes.
Okay,
they celebrate
understood.
Christmas too, Jeff.
Yes.
Yes, they also celebrate Christmas.
Tiny microscopic people on flowers also celebrate the holiday.
Yes. And I don't know, because if you actually watch this particular one, so my son was watching with us, and he was looking at this, and he raised a question vocally that actually was in the back of my mind as I was watching. He's like, how big are Who's? Because you see people of all different sizes. And this isn't necessarily associated with their age, right? So I'm guessing if you wanted to like look way deeper into this than you really should, this is Gary doing doing speculation on the nature.
Give us
of
some
who's.
speculation, Gary. We need some speculation.
So this is Gary getting into
We'll
the
now
speculation.
get Professor Gary's lesson on the ecology of the Homo who. Begins.
So in this particular one, if you remember watching, there was they cut down a Christmas tree and they were carrying it, and as it slumped in the middle, there were little who's of all sizes carrying it, and they were all holding their arms up. So there's just like a whole line of people, and all of them presumably adults, just of different sizes, like getting full size and then getting tiny and then getting big again. And then at a later scene, as they were showing the first time that they were showing the feast, the Who feast, they had kind of a Russian nesting doll of serving platters. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And each one would open up their little serving platter, and there would be just a slightly smaller who would hop out and then would open up their serving platter. And then, till the last one who get presented who is presumably a fully formed adult, but very, very small, who opened up their serving platter, and on it was a strawberry that they presented to Cindy Lou who was a child, yet also larger than this fully formed adult, very small who. So I'm guessing who's come in all different sizes. But they do seem to be of a rather pleasant disposition no matter who they are. So,
They would have to have several different clothing retails. I mean,
yes,
when
definitely.
the sizes are so different, they'd need to have like a big Who store and a little Who store. I mean, and medium size. I mean, one store to sell all those different sizes would be too much. So they probably have that.
Actually, the way Who's do things, and this is blatant.
We're going to get into
like
the economics of Who's. No.
Yeah, this is blatant overcomplication of something that is entirely simple.
Good, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
But my blatant overcomplication is, especially if you look at the artwork of the Dr. Seuss books, I would think that actually it would just be one store, Jeff. One very large, very overly complicated store that would sell all of the clothing to all of the Who's, no matter what size they were. Have you seen some of the artwork in these books? It definitely fits in my mind that there would be a store that would sell to all of them.
Mm.
That's not to mention all of their insane-looking contraptions. And
all their
how they would
weird
have to
machines
be, the weird machines and how they would be manufactured, and it's just okay.
Well, perhaps the Who's are self-sufficient. They don't depend on factories. They have custom-built workshops where they can design
sort of
these
a
things.
cottage industry. You think?
Cottage industry.
Like individual craftsmen that would develop each device individually, just with master capability. It does.
There doesn't seem to be like other Who civilizations they can trade with. They seem to be just Whoville. Just one little town.
And so of course there is the one who actually no, there is the question, is Grinch a Who?
Oh yeah, now that is a question.
That is a question. BJ, or do you want to speculate on this one? Since we've long abandoned the actual canon of the books.
I'm just over here wondering how far I should let y'all go before I try to wrangle y'all back.
I mean, there's not much in this. There's not much in either the book or the show. So I was just kind of deciding to go in my own direction. But if you want to pull me back, by all means. This is just Gary doing blatant, just wild speculation on what little evidence is presented to us in the books.
I mean, as we have established in other things, you do tend to favor things with deeper world building.
And
Can
maybe
you blame
I am
him, though?
And maybe I am But here's the thing, BJ. There is a consistency with the artwork and with the conversation that he has in his books that maybe there was some world building that he was doing in there. Yes, I know they're kids' books, and sometimes you just let a kid's book be a kid's book. But it did feel like, especially when he was referring to them as who's across multiple books, that there was some little bit of world building in amongst all of the what would appear to be madness. That there was some actual legitimate world building in there. And so let me have fun and speculate a little bit.
Well, and as they remake this stuff, that anytime they remake it, you want to add something new into it. And so there's a tendency to make it a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger, and to add more things into it. That's what they tried to do with the Jim Carrey one. They've got to add more things into this, and more origin.
And over the more recent years, late 2010s, a series of movies came out based on the Dr. Seuss books that were, they held true and were faithful to the original storyline while adding in quite a bit. You know, they stayed true to the artwork, they stayed true to the original storyline. Obviously, they had to add in, or they wanted to add in quite a bit more because they wanted to make full feature-length movies instead of just like this one, which was only about half an hour of Christmas special. They wanted to make something that was feature length, so they did a few of them. We talked about Horton Hears a Who. They also did what was the one that it was the tree one?
Lorax?
Yeah, the Lorax. They did the Lorax. They did Horton Hears a Who. They did the 2018. They did this particular one, the Grinch. I'm trying to remember.
I vaguely remember hearing about the Lorax movie. If at some point I knew who they made a Horton Hears a Who movie, it had completely escaped my conscious.
I remember seeing that one. It was actually kind of good. I kind of liked it.
Can I ask you guys a question that is on topic yet somewhat strange of a question?
No.
No. Okay, moving on.
What will you do if I say no?
Okay.
I am going to veto BJ, and Jeff, you can ask that question. Go right ahead.
This is a question about mediums for these kinds of things, because as you guys may know, the Calvin and Hobbes stories have only been printed as a comic book, which is their only medium that they exist on. The person that created, Bill Watterson, he was adamant that his works stay within the medium he created it in. So it wouldn't be made into an animated film. It wouldn't move on to something else. There wouldn't be toys made or other things. It just is a comic story and nothing else. And there's something interesting about it because the books are still selling. Probably not just because they're good books, but that's the only way you can really get the medium. You don't move on and just watch the cartoons and forget about the comic books. So whereas with everything else, these hit stories, they move around. They go from book to, animated to then live action with a famous movie star like Jim Carrey. So what are your guys' thoughts about that? Do you think that's a good idea, or is there, whatever your thoughts are, if you have some?
Oh, in the case of this particular TV special, The Grinch, I was just doing a quick bit of reading while Jeff was talking, but in this particular case, it does look like Dr. Seuss himself was involved with the creation of this cartoon, along with Chuck Jones of Looney Tunes fame. So it just depends on the creator, I guess. I'm pretty sure I forget when Dr. Seuss passed away, but oh yeah, 91. Excuse me. So yeah, Dr. Seuss passed away in 91, so that was quite some time, like 9-10 years before the Jim Carrey version got made. So I remember hearing something about the Seuss estate and that movie, but I forget what, so I don't want to speculate then. Zoo and zoo. I'm having trouble talking without trying to research at the same time, so I'm not going to look into that right now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So basically, it comes down. Some artists prefer that or not. And yeah, go ahead, Gary.
And also, so I can get why, and Bill Watterson probably understands what makes his content work in the medium in which it is presented. And that I feel is definitely worthy of noting, right? So if you look, so sometimes you have to understand that sometimes content isn't made or isn't meant to be outside of the medium in which it was originally created. Let me present to you the concept of the Broadway musical and how it has been so hit and miss when they attempt to adapt them to movies, right? For instance, some of those, they are okay if they make them into movies, and other times you get Cats.
Okay. Yeah, I think that says it all. Sometimes you get
that
Cats.
says it all right there.
Because all of the times they've tried to get Cats to do other things, it has been a failure, I believe.
But from what I understand, it's actually a really good Broadway musical. So I haven't seen it, but I actually I have seen a few, like, I went and watched a few of the versions of it. Like I would go watch a few of the songs or whatever as they did it on Broadway, and it's nice. It's well. I wouldn't say it's a well done story, but it was a well done musical.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
like it's not. One of the problems with Cats is that it doesn't have a very sophisticated story.
Yeah,
but it's really just about the music and the costumes. And
yes.
So when you go off Broadway and they're like, okay, so what kind of a story do we have? Like, nothing interesting, really.
So, so if you go and you try to turn Calvin and Hobbes, for instance, into something else that it's not, because Calvin and Hobbes, it's a very good comic. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate it as a comic, but I kind of agree with Bill Watterson there. It probably should not be an animated thing. It should probably just stay in the form it is. I have some of those books. They're very funny. They're very insightful. I hope my son someday reads them and gets from them the same things that I got from them. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have mixed feelings too, because I do feel like you get one artist who has like their way of doing things, and then as time goes on, other artists will come in and they want to kind of take it into a different direction. And at that point, it's really hit and miss. It could be a terrible flop, or it could be something interesting and different. But I gotta respect Calvin and Hobbes for keeping the comic the way it is, for the artist, for Bill Watterson to do that. But, in this case, this cartoon really didn't move much from the original, what the original story was really about, which is it's a simple story about how people change. And I think that's really the heart of it, is that he's grumpy, he's in that state, but then he does change, and what causes him to change is experience, because he has an experience where he's able to go after and destroy the thing that he hates. And once he's destroyed the thing that he hates, he begins to realize that what it really was that he was trying to fight against. And he realizes it's not what he thought it was. That the people in Whoville, that they are something more than what he thought they were. And I think that it's a trigger for him that then leads to his change. So, if we really, that's kind of like what I philosophize of it. It's a very simple thing where I sort of think like, you guys can stop me because I know my time limit's probably ticking by, but you interject if you think.
I was gonna say when the podcast starts going longer than the thing that we created for, I start to get a little antsy, and we are past that mark. So
that's true. So I'll just say one thing, and you guys can add whatever you want. But I just want to say that I think one of the things that you glean from this, or that can be gleaned from it, is just the fact that there was no way you could probably go to the Grinch in the beginning of this story and convince the Grinch that his attitude was wrong. There probably was no way you could just sit there and talk to him, lecture him for 5 hours straight to try to get him to change his mind. It probably had a very low chance of success. But when he was able to go out and have some experiences, experience becomes a great teacher. And through a series of events, he then has a change of mind and heart, and his heart grows 2 sizes, and suddenly he's able to see the happiness of the great holiday, and you see him joining the Who and having this wonderful experience with, yay, we're all friends, and we get to enjoy the holiday, and it has a bright ending to the story that I like. So that's the thing that I think the catalyst that he put in there. He put this epic story of the Grinch going through things and changing, but it's really his experience that changes him. And I sort of feel like I'm a big Freudian person. Not that I'm a huge expert, but I always feel like the id learns through experience, and the ego, it might learn through lectures, through cognitive learning, but really for the id to learn, it needs to have experiences that teach it. And anyway, that's what I have to say. It's my analysis in our long form discussion of the Grinch.
What the heck is this conversation we're having about how the Grinch stole Christmas? Holy crap.
Speaking of Grinch.
But yeah, it's a nice Christmas story. It is a very, very good Christmas story. Like, you know, I'll bring it back, BJ. Let me bring it back.
I will admit I was pretty zoned out for a good chunk of that. So it's gonna be quite the adventure for me when I go back and edit audio to see what the heck you guys were talking about for like the last 20 minutes or whatever. Because
but let me bring it back.
I think I started to check out around Who economics. That was a while ago.
That was the best part, BJ. Was the Who economics.
So let me bring this back. So the concept of the change, right? The person who that is a very big theme amongst Christmas movies, and this definitely is one of those that kind of sets that particular tone, or has that particular tone running through it, where the person is initially not someone who, you know, is a good person, but then they learn to change.
Well, and
that's definitely fits with the
in
theme.
Christmas. Who?
Yes.
Imagine. Why are those two things linked together? That's a mystery for the ages, I guess.
I don't know. And maybe because this is a mystery for the ages, that's why this particular story has lasted so long. I'll admit, my family probably appreciates this story much more in the book form than in the movie form, but that's just kind of us. So, but
Bunch of nerds.
So, but like I said, I kind of get antsy if it's going for a lot longer than the original content. So maybe I've failed.
We have time to make up. I mean, I think we have like a good 3 hours. If that's the standard we're going by, we have like 3 hours to make up from like the Gettysburg episodes. We can keep going.
Yeah, that's a rule. We have to go as long as the movie.
Nah.
Gettysburg was such a fun recording. Fun show. Anyway, yep, tangent.
Yes. We tend to wander on those on this podcast. A lot.
Yep. Tend to have tangents, and they definitely wander. Wander in ways that BJ gets angry about.
I wasn't angry.
Or BJ. The things we put you through.
I was just sitting here. I was trying to remember what we talked about in review. It was like, oh, join us for a long form discussion. Maybe we'll talk about those. I'm like, no, I can't even remember that we teased.
I honestly don't either, but I'm pretty sure we've covered it.
That was like a whole half hour ago, man. How am I supposed to remember that?
But yeah. I like it. It was good. It's nice, quaint, small, short, sweet little movie that I could watch the last minute because I forgot to watch it earlier.
Well,
it is handy like that. You can easily quickly watch it.
Out of the 3 holiday specials we watched, it is in fact the shortest. Maybe next year.
And more survivable than the Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe next year we'll go back. We'll make Gary watch the Star Wars Christmas special.
I mean,
the only downside is that I would have to watch it again. That would be the third time. I think that's when your brain melts. After all, I mean, I guess we have Jeff Harris' example. He says he's watched more than 3 times. Look how he is.
Yeah, there's definite side effects. I can attest to that.
Yeah,
there's only so many cooking shows you can really watch.
It'd be a big ask. It'd be a big ask to get me to watch that again. I don't think so, BJ. I really don't think I can ever do that again.
And then speak to us later.
Were you there when we watched it the first time, or?
Yes.
We watched that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched it all as a group long ago, years ago.
Well, yes, I remember it happened at his house, but there was a time period where not him was living at his house, but I don't want to go.
You don't want to go into the backstory of everything.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much. I don't know how much y'all are comfortable sharing. I mean, I don't know if that would like identify us in any particular way, but I don't know. My brain is not here today.
Oh. Best to
the
leave
Grinch
that kind
came
of
and stole
speculation.
BJ's brain. That's what happened.
My brain is 2 sizes too small.
Best to leave that speculation because time kind of muddles a lot of things, and it has been quite a while since a lot of the events that that might be part of. I don't.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about how BJ loves the holiday. Is probably the most festive. What's the word? Loves to celebrate the holiday the most out of all.
Which is
of us.
funny since I'm the one that works retail.
You receive the most opposition when it comes to the holiday.
Well,
the most stringent tests of patience and fortitude.
Well, I used to get more opposition, but Gary doesn't live across the street from me anymore.
I mean, I probably can still see the lights from your house from where I live now, given that I am now on the opposite side of the valley.
My parents don't put up as many lights as they used to.
Oh, okay.
It's not as much fun, but it doesn't keep you up all night.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember discussions about how the lights, the festive Christmas lights were so bright that they would just keep him up or something like that.
They would,
Sleep
Jeff.
deprivation's funny.
They would.
They would.
It is funny, Jeff. It is funny. But having said that, I keep dropping these subtle hints, Jeff, so maybe I should make it a little bit less subtle.
All right.
You haven't mentioned dinner yet, Gary, so we're not catching the hint.
Yeah, that's the cue.
That's the
So you say, I have food,
There's
now I'm
food?
dumping you guys.
I'm
Food.
hungry.
Going to food.
I'm
hanging
leaving
up on
you guys for food. I am going to go eat the Who feast, the roast beast, the Who pudding. So, like,
Actually, it was going to be a family night out tonight, which we were planning to do as soon as we got off of the podcast. So the sooner we do that, the better, guys. Chop, chop.
speaking of chop. So
Yeah,
like,
BJ?
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think how to phrase this in a way that is less creepy, but like, so is just the Who naming convention to slap Who on everything, or is like the rare Who roast beef and the Who pudding made out of Who's?
Wow, you had to go there, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So I think the Who beast isn't actually Who. It just is beast that lives in the realm of Who. The Who pudding obviously is just a recipe developed by the Who's. I don't think there's any other named Who characters other than Cindy Lou Who, right? And then we're still speculating on if the Grinch is a Who or not.
I don't think he is. He is very physically different from the Who's, very obviously different species.
So maybe the Grinch is a Who beast, and that's probably part of the reason why he hates
Oh my
Christmas.
goodness! Now that went somewhere weird.
Like I said, blatant speculation.
Talk about a
here.
wild fan theory that's going to keep me up at night. Okay.
That's why there's no other Grinches. They've been hunted into extinction because of Christmas.
So suddenly we realize his motivation for
the Who's were the villains the whole time.
And then he
but
realizes,
BJ,
hey, it's not so bad. Let's go celebrate.
what does it mean at the end then when he's the one who carves the Who beast? Dun dun dun.
It means he didn't like that guy.
It could be that.
That was only Jerry. Who cares about Jerry?
Yeah, it could be. No, I honestly don't think.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I honestly don't think that he is a Who beast. That there's probably some other creature that we don't see on camera. You guys love, every time I go into my speculations, you guys love to rein me back in and say, Gary, they can't show everything. Just let it go. So in this particular case,
the government of Whoville.
I'm just going
the Who God Emperor.
No, actually, there is a government of Whoville. It is mentioned in other books. There's a mayor. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
They have a mayor, and presumably there's an election system. They have an electoral process. So they have a mayor. I don't know that they've gone into the economy of it, but
is there a mafia behind the scenes that manipulates the election?
I don't know.
Is there a Who country, or is Whoville, what's the word?
A city-state.
A city-state.
I'm guessing it is a city-state because there's no mentioned other location. So, anyways.
How many cities could you fit on one flower?
Given the size, and now that's where I get. That's why I was talking about the size differences.
Unladen swallow.
That's why I was talking about the size differences of the various and assorted Who's. Maybe Whoville. That maybe there's multiple Whovilles. Maybe because if you saw in this particular one, there was Who's of multiple sizes. Maybe that particular Whoville, the one that's on the flower, is of all the microscopic Who's, and there's probably other Who's that are much larger. I don't know.
Yeah, and they might live on other Who flowers,
or maybe live next to the flower patch that has the Who flower.
Right. Yeah. They might have some way of traveling in between these two different flowers.
They just
because if
exile
Who's
the microscopic Who's
Jeff, I'm
particular flower?
speculating that there's non-microscopic who's, that there are like larger who's, who's that are
The
that
land
don't
of the
live on
giants.
flowers. They live in regular size homes, but that's speculation.
Really?
like I said.
Gulliver.
Wow.
Anyways, let me redrop the
Okay.
hint that we've been
We
going
could
on
go
for
on
a while.
about all that stuff way more than we should go on.
I was just laughing. I was just laughing because that was a good 5-minute tangent driven entirely by the guy trying to end things.
Yes.
All we have to do is say the right things to get Gary going again.
What about the Who Bene Gesserit?
Exactly.
I will refrain from commenting on that one.
The
Okay.
Who spice must flow. The Who sleeper must awaken.
The Atreides who must go and manage another flower that is dried and wilted. Has
Bring me
giant
the
worms
floating
living
fat
in it.
Who.
We're probably the
Shia-
only...
Shia-
At this point,
Shia
everyone
LaBeouf.
has turned off the podcast. No one will hear anything we're saying.
No one got past Who economic but us. Let's be serious.
That's probably true.
Even I didn't make it back to Who economics.
You also tuned out.
I'm just contractually required to tune back in.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
let's let Gary go and enjoy something else. That's way more fun. And
Something
good.
that's not BJ and Jeff. Anyway, so yeah, that was something. I can't wait to go back and listen to see what y'all said before I tune back in. Oh, I'm trying to think of a rhyme of how to end things, but nothing. I'm lacking
There's
inspiration.
no rhyme
so-
this time.
Jeff, you used that one already. You can't use the same rhyme every time. That's not how this works. Dare I say vinyl thoughts? Because I've just had no thoughts this entire episode, so I'll give you guys a chance to think while I'm not.
No,
Don't give us another chance to think. No more opportunities of thoughts. We know
That is too
what
electric,
dangers
but
that
I'm just
brings to us.
I'm BJ. With me was Jeff and Gary. We'll let Gary go to do family things because his holidays and family's a big part of that. So yeah, we will hope everyone enjoys the season. We will obviously have another Christmas episode coming up in about 2 weeks. Hopefully that episode might be a little more Christmassy than whatever happened here. Holy cow. I already said I'm BJ. Did I say with me is Jeff and Gary?
Do you
I
not
can't
want
remember.
this to end, BJ?
I am
wanna
just
stay with
trying to
us
think
forever.
and I am failing miserably, okay? Give me a break.
Okay.
My attention span has shrunk to the size of a microscopic Who.
It's two sizes too small.
I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary. I'll say that just in case. We'll see you next time. Bye.